Hey everyone, welcome back to another video from Harry Potter Folklore. So, we are going to be looking at every single piece of magic ever created by Severus Snape for today's video. As you all may know, Severus Snape has a passion for the dark arts and created several spells and curses over the course of his lifetime, most of them in order to protect himself, and I'll explain that a little later on. But anyway, let's get straight into the video and take a look at every single piece of magic Snape ever made. Shall we just start with the one everyone knows? It's pretty much common knowledge amongst Harry Potter fans that Snape created the curse known as Sectum Sempra. As devastating as it is one of the coolest spells in the books. I see this all the time in discussions. Hey, what's your favorite spell? Sectum Sempra. This is actually a pretty complicated spell in terms of creation. Crafting a spell is a very difficult thing to do. It's actually never really been disclosed in the Harry Potter universe how to do it. Now I have made a video on it, how I think it works, and you can click the cards to watch it after this one. But as far as concrete info goes, there's none available. Snape had a knack for creating them, which means the information was reachable for his students. Sectum Sempra causes huge gashes to pierce the body in a slashing motion. The slashes cut extremely deep across the victim's face and chest, resulting in massive blood loss, which results in death. There doesn't seem to be a wand moving for it, it's just aim, point and say the incantation. I think he wanted it that way to make it straightforward to cast. Snape must have had a lot of anger in him when creating this spell, as it's not exactly far off being deemed illegal. I mean, it's a method of killing someone slowly. I also think he intended to use it in the Wizarding War. He never disclosed the spell to anyone, writing it only in his potions textbook that was donated back to the school, I'm assuming, so he knew it was only a matter of time before someone found it, and someone did. Harry Potter was the individual who discovered and cast it on Draco Malfoy, which we all know would have killed him were it not for Snape's intervention, and Harry was given detention for the rest of the year. As I mentioned, Snape's intervention did save Draco's life, and that was with his next piece of magic. That spell was called Vulnera Sanitur. The spell works by repairing damaged tissue and closing wounds, which allows the injured area to begin to heal. The effectiveness of the spell is dependent on the severity of the injury and the skill of the witch or wizard casting it. For minor injuries, a single casting of the spell may be sufficient to heal the wound completely. However, for more serious injuries, multiple castings of the spell may be required over a period of time to achieve full healing. The spell is derived from the Latin words vulnera, meaning wounds, and sanitur, meaning let them be healed. The incantation produces a magical blue light that heals physical wounds, including cuts, gashes, and bruises. In the book, Snape uses the spell to heal the wounds on Draco's face caused by Harry's Sectum Sempra curse, which is a much darker and dangerous spell that causes deep lacerations, as I just mentioned. The Vulnera Sanitur spell helped to stop the bleeding and heal the wounds, allowing Draco to successfully recover from his injuries. The incantation needs to be repeated 3 times in a sing-song manner. The first time it is spoken, the victim's blood flow eases. The second time stitches the wounds, and the third helps them to heal. Next up, we've got a rather clever spell by the name of Muffliato. The Muffliato charm was a charm used to fill the ears of any person in the vicinity of the caster with an unidentifiable buzzing sound, so as to allow for conversation without being overheard. It's not exactly known when Snape created this spell, but I think it can be correctly assumed that it was definitely within his school days, as he had to do everything possible to avoid and deflect James Potter and Sirius Black's constant torment. Muffliato was his way of not being heard practicing his own incantations and spells, as any advantage James Potter could get over Snape, well, he'd take it. The spell highlights the simplistic but rather effective thinking from Snape by being able to protect his privacy without causing any real damage. This was created not just for students, but I think to keep teachers' open ears out of his business. Speaking of James Potter and ways of combating him and his marauders, Snape continued to create spells to defend himself, and the next piece of magic we're going to discuss is the well-known Levicorpus. This is so widely used by the wizarding community, I'm not even sure if Snape has been given the credit for it since he signed the spells off as the Half-Blood Prince. The spell can be cast non-verbally or with the incantation Levicorpus. When cast, the victim is hoisted into the air and held upside down by their leg as if by an invisible rope. The caster basically has a free run to move the person wherever and however they want for as long as they want. There's literally nothing the victim can do, and they can actually be left suspended there for hours if they weren't released from the jinx. As I mentioned moments ago, word of the spell travelled so fast around Hogwarts that nearly half, maybe all of the student body was actually using it. There wasn't a day that would go by where at least one unlucky student was being hoisted into the air. Even Snape himself fell victim to his own spell at James Potter's hands and was basically embarrassed in front of the entire school. That brings in his next invention, which is Liberacorpus. The count occurs to reverse the spell's effects and lower the person to the ground. I think something to give Snape credit for, regardless of how dangerous or humorous his spells are, is the fact he always developed a counter curse for them. With Sectum Sempra, there's Vulnera Sanitur. With Levicorpus, there's Liberacorpus. It shows an underlying sense of maturity and responsibility from him to have the ability to immediately shut down the escalating situation that involved a spell of his creation. So next up we have what I consider a rather uncomfortable and even panic-inflicting spell of Snape's called the Langlock Jinx. Now this was a jinx that caused one's tongue to affix to the roof of their mouth. It was known to work on humans as well as on spirits, including a poltergeist like Peeves. It was most likely invented for the sake of preventing someone from speaking aloud or even to prevent a spell from being cast. Again, I'm not entirely certain of the reasoning behind Snape's creation of such a spell, but my guess, well, it was to prevent anyone from teasing him and calling him names of his somewhat loner status, in particular James Potter, who as we all know gave him quite a rough time in school, mostly due to his association with Lily Evans. The spell, like the previous ones I've mentioned, was a huge success in the school, with many students using it for fun. Even Bill Weasley taught the jinx to a group of 6th-year students during one of his defense against the dark arts tutoring sessions. Harry Potter used the jinx on Argus Filch to a rapturous, humorous applause when he discovered the spell in 1996, so it once again highlights the longevity of Snape's creations. Our next piece of magic is quite impressive, but it's not exactly a spell, more so a very effective potion that countered the effects of Voldemort's curse placed on the Gaunt family ring. When Albus Dumbledore successfully retrieved the ring from the Gaunt shack, he placed it on his finger, not realizing that the ring was quite evidently cursed if it belonged to Voldemort. As the curse rapidly entered his body, he momentarily contained it until returning to Hogwarts, where Snape was able to brew a potion to counter the effects and contain the curse to the headmaster's hand. The fact that Snape had the knowledge and composure to basically create a potion that never existed in such a short space of time and actually getting it right, getting it correct, was just yet again another incredible feat of magical knowledge. He saved Dumbledore's life, although it was not a permanent fix. The curse was too powerful to actually be removed, but Snape's intervention ultimately gave Dumbledore the time to put a plan in motion. It also highlights just how deep a knowledge he had of the dark arts and why he was once so valuable to Voldemort as a Death Eater. There you have it, everyone. That is every single piece of magic Severus Snape ever created. I'm pretty sure he did create a lot more spells and potions, but unfortunately it's never been revealed what they are. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, have a great day, and make sure to look out for my next video.